Hey guys, I told you the next video was gonna be sooner than expected, right? I kept my promise. However, it was extremely noisy in the shop that day. There was somebody working right next to me, so I decided to keep my mouth shut and just keep working. So it's gonna be a voiceover video. What? You want me to do that again? Okay, I'll keep my mouth shut. Well, that's it. I can't keep it shut any longer. Well, I know, I talk way too much for someone who doesn't even speak English. But seriously, now I have to explain what I'm doing here, right? As if it's not obvious, Helene. Duh. Anyways, okay, so the seal is installed and the floor is installed in place, so now we have to build this B-post, because most of it is missing, as you can see. And I started by making a template for the actual post. Then from there we're gonna go and build the inner fender and wheel well. And while I'm making the template, I'd like to clarify something about the previous video, because someone commented and then I realized that I didn't show the brace that I was talking about, the brace that is holding the door jamb in specific shape. So I needed to cut the front end of this brace loose, adjust the gap and then weld it again, but that wasn't very obvious in my previous video. I'm sorry about that. So you can see it here in this shot. So it looks like the template is ready and now we can transfer it into metal, but this time I'm not gonna shake it. I'm gonna show you actually how I did it. This offset here is required because the template was a little bit shorter than what I needed, so I just made the piece of metal a little bit longer, and that worked well, as you will see later. And for the curved flange I had to use the parallel arm pliers again, and someone asked about these. They are called Nipex, I think. Yeah, I'm gonna put a picture here for you. And I got them from Home Depot, if I remember well. Home Depot Canada, I guess they will be available in Home Depot USA as well. And for the rest of the world, I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to Google the make and the model from my picture. And it fitted pretty well, so I just marked the B-post and I cut it right across that oval opening, so we're gonna have to recreate that later. And before I forget, I also marked where the opening for the seatbelt fastener needs to be. and then I was ready to weld it in place. I somehow left a big gap there next to the oval hole, but that's something that I can deal with later. It's not a big issue. Now, before I cut too much of the inner fender off, I wanted to rebuild only the corner of the wheel well and the B-post, just fasten them together, so more or less that would keep the rigidity, and then I could cut the rest of the inner fender, because there's a lot of rust there. Yeah, so that's what I did. I just patched a little corner at the bottom. And now that I had the floor, the B-post and the wheel well fastened together, I could cut the rest of the rust away, and that was really satisfying. Isn't it amazing how just by removing the rusted metal, everything looks so much simpler and easier to work on? So it looks like it is easier to work on the outside now, and it's easier to film also, so welcome to the other side. And yeah, I started by making the patch for the inner fender. I used a cut-off piece of metal from some of my trials on the bead roller, so I had to flatten that, but hey, every little piece of metal is important. So that's just a flat piece of metal, so nothing special about it. I just made it fit inside that opening that I cut earlier. I let it hang a little bit inside the wheel well, and then later I just ground it back to the contour of the bow of the wheel well. For the wheel well patch, I started by taking a flat strip of sheet metal. I lined it up with the cut on the wheel well, and then I marked where to bend the flange. And after I bent the flange, I used the stretcher to give it a very slight curve, very gentle, trying not to overbend it, but of course that's exactly what I did. I overbent it, but that's not a big issue because there's a tool exactly the opposite to the stretcher, and it's called shrinker. So with the shrinker I was able to bring the curve back to where I wanted it. Then I punched some holes on the flange and I welded it, and it fit like a glove. And we are one more step closer to rust-free TR6. Now this last patch at the bottom of the wheel well looks like a very simple flat square piece, but believe me, it is not so easy. So I had to make a template again, and you'll see the shape of the template is gonna surprise you. Well, it's not extremely complicated, but it is not square piece, right? So I transferred that into metal and I welded it. And it wasn't easy to hold it there because it was pulling and pushing all directions. So I had to use many clamps and a little bit of advice with the sheet metal hammer. But it went in place finally, and the most important was the gap between the floor flange and the wheel well to be closed, because that was a little open when I first started. Alright guys, I think this is where we're gonna leave it. I don't know here if we're gonna spray, what was it called, the bed liner, truck bed liner, or what we're gonna do. So if we want to have a nice smooth finish, then we're gonna have to do some body work, because again, wherever I want to make seamless welding, I always end up with some rough stitching, but sometimes in areas where it's not so important, it becomes perfect. So still have a lot to learn. Well, I can actually still grind a little bit more. Yeah, it's not gonna be perfect. It's not gonna be perfect anyways, but it is what it is. But it is pretty good. But yeah, for sure it's gonna need some body work. But hey, it is much better than what it was, right? And let's take a look on the inside. Okay, doesn't look bad, huh? Remember what did it look like this morning? Were all rust and holes, right? So now I still have to work a little bit over there on the B-post. Need to make that hole bigger, the oval, but yeah, roughly we put it together. So this is where I'm gonna stop for today, because it's Friday, it's almost 4:30, and I wanna go home and edit. Actually, I have two videos to edit. I have, well, if you're watching this one, then probably you've watched the other one too. So wow, you are in the future for me. I'm still at the point where I don't have the previous video edited. Whatever, Ellen, what are you talking about? Anyways, yeah, so next time we're gonna finish here the B-post. We're gonna grind everything inside, and we're gonna start building up, like over there, and maybe start going that way, or maybe we're gonna put the back of the B-post. The back side of the B-post is not installed yet. This is what I'm talking about. Right, we have to install this. And of course, yeah, we have to finish this hole here. We have to build a little bit of this flange here, so we can just overlap it with this and be done with it. Looks nice, huh? Well, I'm happy with the progress today. So again, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for commenting and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.